So it's Testimonial Sunday. We're going to be talking about Camp Manatawny this morning. I'm going to share with you three stories. We had an opportunity for those of you who are able to join us for class time to learn about the practical matters of camp. A lot of things are going on, including the exciting part of a new building, new cabin. The board has approved the first new cabin construction, and it's going to be built with 24 to 26 bunks. It's actually two cabins in one. It's going to have bathrooms and a air conditioning. But I know the girls especially are very happy because we have a rule at camp that as long as there's thunder, you can't go to the bathhouse. So the girls kind of have to hold it. The boys can go in behind the cabin, but the girls can't do that very easily. So there are many people who are happy about that. But what I really want to share with you this morning is about transformed lives. We have a mission at camp, transform lives for Christ for a lifetime. And we've been doing it for 55 years. Many of you have been a part of that. But I want to share with you three stories of transformation this morning, three brief stories. So the first story is about a guy named Benji. Benji and his family came from Kenya many years ago, and he was a little guy at the time. They were unchurched. The entire family was never exposed to God. And they moved to Edison, New Jersey, just a little ways up north from us. And they met another Christian man. And that Christian man became a friend of theirs, and almost a member of their family. And he convinced them to send Benji to camp. Benji didn't know what to expect. He came to camp, and he didn't know what to expect. And I had the pleasure of being one of Benji's Bible teachers the third year he was at camp. Now, think about this. A guy who never really spoke English every day, a guy who never heard about God. He didn't know, he wasn't well prepared, and yet he soaked it all in. He learned his scripture verses. He was, transformed by Christ to the point where the third year at camp, he was voted the best Bible camper. And on Saturday at the end of that week, actually Friday afternoon, I was the Bible teacher. I really, was pleased with the way Benji was. And I walked up to the dining hall, and Benji's uncle had come to pick him up a day early. And I didn't understand why. It was kind of strange. And he was there with his grandfather, Benji's grandfather, and they were crying. And I started crying because, that's what you do when other people are crying. And Benji especially was very upset that he had to leave camp. And I found out during my conversation with them that not only did he have to leave camp, but he had to do it because he was getting ready to be baptized at his home church. He, 3 years with no experience and exposure to God, 3 years of camp, 3 years of learning about God, and he was ready to turn his life over to God. And his grandfather flew all the way from Kenya and picked him up along with his uncle so that they can be present for his baptism. And his grandfather was a Muslim. So they were there to see Benji's baptism. The spirit of transformation is present at Camp Manatawny. I want to share another story about a guy named Joe. And I was really amazed. Joe was another person who was largely unchurched. He had never really attended any church in his life. So I was there one Saturday morning for registration, for sign-ins. The kids were all arriving. It was the registrations for Senior High 2 week. And Joe came, and I found out he was one of two people who was a first-time camper. Now, normally, Senior High 2 week is the people who have been at camp for many years, several years at least. But Joe was coming for the first time as a senior. And I was amazed. I was curious, and I asked him, after signing him in, I asked him, "Why are you here? You know, what brought you to camp?" And he said, "I was basically ribbed by my friends and constantly trying to be convinced by my friends to attend camp for years. And I said no, but I realized that this year is my last chance. After many years of my friends trying to convince me to come, this was the last chance I had. And if I didn't do it, I was going to blow it." So he decided to come. 1 week of his life, a small price to pay. And during that week, he attended camp. He attended devotionals, Bible classes, all the activities that we have to offer. And at the end of the week, at the closing ceremony on Saturday, I saw Joe again. And I asked him, "So how was it? 1 week of your life?" And he said to me, "It was the most spiritually intense, exhausting, and spiritually transforming life that I ever had, experience in my life that I ever had." 1 week can make a complete difference. But the story doesn't end there. 2 weeks later, Joe at the King of Prussia Church was actually interviewed by another teenager about his camp experience during church worship time, and he spoke publicly, and he had the opportunity to share with others. So not only was his transformation for him, but it was something that he could give back to other people after only a week at camp. That's pretty amazing. I don't know about you, but, you know, testimony in front of a bunch of people, I've never been especially scared of public presentations, but it's a big deal for some people. And for Joe, it was a big deal. But he didn't think it was a big deal on that Sunday morning. He wanted to share the transforming power of Jesus Christ with other people. The final story was about a father. His name was Billy. Billy was sending 3 of his kids to camp for the first time, and he applied for financial aid. And eventually he was approved for financial aid. And I was very happy to do it because he was recently divorced. He was struggling. He had a family of 4 besides himself, four children, 3 of them coming to camp. So I said, why not? We can definitely afford to give him some financial aid, financial assistance. But several weeks later, I found out that Billy actually applied to be a member of the volunteer staff, a counselor. And then later, I found out that Billy took that week off from work to volunteer, and he didn't have any paid vacation at his employer. So he applied for financial aid because he knew he was going to volunteer and he was going to be without his income for that 1 week. But the story gets better. Not only did he sacrifice for his children and for others, but several weeks later, I got a check in the mail from Billy. he paid us back for the financial aid that we gave him. So not only did he take a week off from camp, but it was something that he felt compelled and obligated to give back. He wanted to pay it forward. So if you have any opportunity, I think it's in 2 weeks. It's in the middle of May. We have a Camp Shippy event at camp. It's an opportunity to have a free lunch. Everybody likes free food. You can share your camp experiences there with other people who have enjoyed attending camp. What I want to do is thank this congregation especially for their support of camp for many years, for the many campers that you've sponsored to be able to attend, for the people that you've sent to be volunteers. You know, Manny, say hi, Manny. Manny was a director for how many years? 14 years. I think last year was his last year to be a director. But for many years, he was the director of Elementary 1 Week. Rebecca and Elizabeth Lazar have been the director for several years for Junior High 1 Week. Aaron, the Pearls, Aaron and Jen, obviously previous directors. Tim and Melody Davis, previous directors. Many of you have served at camp for many years and given of yourselves. I'll tell you a secret. A number of years ago, I was in Geneva. I was an elder at the Geneva Church of Christ. And I was wondering why so many of our young people were leaving the church. And I asked them the question. I decided to call them up or email them and meet with them. Now, I did it in French. It wasn't easy. At least not for me. But I asked them, why aren't you coming to church anymore? And they said, almost to a letter, almost all of them said one thing: hypocrisy. I see my parents say one thing, but do another. I see people say one thing, but do another. I don't see genuineness and a real demonstration of the love of Christ. Well, at Camp Manatawny and at Pittman Road, we definitely see that. Harold, you talked about it during your welcome remarks. Our chains are free, are broken. Jesus has set us free. He paid the ultimate price for each one of us. And I'm very happy that we have a place like Camp Manatawny to do the same. Where else can you go and partner and invite and share and expose others to the truth of Christ in an uncompromising and loving way than at Christian camp? So if you feel, motivated to help us in any way, we count on your volunteer spirit. We count on your donations. Camp sponsors every year up to $150,000 towards our summer program and other activities beyond what we take in from revenue from campers. So it's cheap. It's really inexpensive. An organization, a Christian camp organization that we're a part of, recently did a survey of Christian camps throughout the United States, about 400 camps. And they asked the question how much they charge for a day of camp, because some camps are 5 days long, some camps are 7, So the way they did it was figuring out what 1 day of camp costs. What an entire week of camp costs, $399. And actually, the typical average of what people pay is about $221, is the equivalent of 2 days at another camp in the United States. What we do for a week, people charge much more just to do in only 2 days. So if you're motivated by that, donations towards a cabin or anything else, we welcome that. Anyway, transforming lives for Christ is part of our business, part of our mission, and we want to partner with you to be able to do that. So thank you for this morning for tolerating me and putting up with me. I hope I've shared something with you of that's, motivating and moving to you. Thank you very much.